All right, so I'm going to show you today how to do the statistics calculations on Desmos. So on Desmos, you would go into graphing calculator. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way that has worked best for me, and I'll kind of explain why it works best for me. I'm going to move this little doohickey up there. Okay, so if I was trying to find mean, median, mode, outliers, sorry, not outliers, quartiles, interquartile range, that kind of stuff, I can use Desmos to do that instead of doing it by hand like we did it on the box and whisker plots tab in the statistics foldable. So in Desmos, if you open a graphing calculator, the way that I prefer you to do it is to add a table. So I'm going to add a table here. Okay. Now, our data sets are only going to have one data set, right? So not an X and a Y, just one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same data that we calculated by hand just to show you. And I'm only going to enter it under X1. Okay. So I had, and the nice thing about using Desmos is I don't have to put them in order. So 23, 30, 13, 30, 27, 55, 24, 34, 27, and 34. And I am going to double check because the biggest thing that happens is you accidentally type in a 2 instead of a 3 or whatnot. So I'm just going to make sure, yep, 23, 13, 23, 30, 13, 30, 27, 55, 24, 34, 27, 34. Okay, so now that I have my data here, again, I'm not going to type anything in Y. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to click down here into another box, and I'm going to go to my calculator or my keyboard. Okay. And then we're going to click functions. And when I click functions, it opens all of this. When you guys get into the upper levels of math, you use things like sine and cosine and tangent, or inverse sine and inverse cosine and inverse tangent. But today we're going to specifically focus, obviously, hopefully, on statistics. So if I want to find the mean, which is the average, which I don't need the mean for a box and whisker plot, but I just want to show you. Okay, I'm going to click mean, and then I'm going to click in X1 because that is the data set, X1 right here, okay, that I want to find. Reminder, if I add a new table down here without deleting that one, it's now going to be X2. So we need to make sure that we are noting what we want the data to be, okay? But X1, and it gives me my mean. Then I can click down here. I can find my median, which is my middle, then which is exactly the number we got. I can also, oops, I got to click down here. I can find my minimum, my maximum, my quartile, and my quantile. So when I do quartile, I want to make sure that I tell it quartile 1. So in order to do that, I'm going to do 32 and then 1. No, I'm not. That's not going to work. How did I do my quartiles? How about not plugging in? There we go. Sorry, guys. Hello. I was trying to tell it 32 because 32 was our quartile 3 on that problem. But that's not what I want. I want it from the data set. So we type in X1, which is the data set we want. Okay, I got ahead of myself. And then 1, and then if we want quartile 3, we got to do X1 and 3. Okay, so that's our quartiles there. So it can also do standard deviation, which will come in handy. We use this one. Notice there are two. We have standard deviation of a data set and standard deviation. This P stands for a population. That would be assuming that that is the entire population that you have surveyed. So in this case, we're looking at a middle school's football team. So it could be, but we'll just use this one, and that's X1. Okay? So that's how you do it. Now, the other way you can do it is you can just type in mean, and then you could like list the data set in here, and it would calculate it. The reason I don't like doing it that way is because then if you wanted the median of the same set of data, you would have to retype in the data. So that's why I prefer to type it into a table, because then you can just label X1 and find all of the things, okay? So there you go. That's how you find your statistical analysis numbers on Desmos.